This morning's reading was chosen by Reverend Kimberley. It's called Grace by Jean Harrison Nudyar. A cartoon in the New Yorker a while back shows bicyclists in 4 panels. In the first, a young man in a sleek cycling attire pedals away with the balloon over his head captures his thinking. Fitness. In the second panel, a woman with baskets and saddlebags filled with bundles thinks environment. In the third, a teenager thinks independence. And in the fourth, the last, a young child smiling ear to ear thinks simply wind. Children may know far more about grace than adults. The simple rush of wind is a gift available to all of us for the taking. This is grace, gifts unsought and perhaps undeserved. Children will experience these gifts regardless of the words available to them. But I suggest the way we name such moments and fleeting might lift them up in a way that can give them added power and clarity. Perhaps by naming these moments, they might become a more conscious thread in the tapestry of the child's life and in our own. We don't want to discuss and analyze them into mundane boredom, but a light naming might add a spiritual quality to our awareness. Aren't you lucky? We are likely to say to children, then something fortuitous or bountiful happens to them. Aren't we lucky to catch a glimpse of the deer in the woods? Aren't you lucky to have such a wonderful Aunt Sarah? Aren't we lucky to have a sunny day for the trip to the beach? But luck implies simply a chance of fate. Grace is far richer and deeper. Grace suggests that there is a benevolence in the universe, a source of love and beauty which in some measure is responsible for the elegance of the deer and the warmth of Aunt Sarah. It opens us to the sense of the divine in our lives. Grace is something you can never get, but only be given, says Frederick Buechner. To pursue moments of exceptional beauty, clarity, or serenity would be fruitless, but to be open to receiving the gift that is available to us is another matter. The colors of the sunset, the birds on the water, the tenderness in our loved one's face will be there whether we notice it or not. To be a person of faith is to be receptive to grace, to notice, to be attentive. It is akin to mindfulness. Gifts are available to all of us all the time, but they will pass us by unless we are open to see and to feel and to celebrate. In the words commonly ascribed to Ramakrishna, the word, the winds of God's grace are always blowing. It is for us to raise our sails. Please welcome Reverend Kimberley back to the podium for her sermon, Hearts in a Holy Place.
So 2 of the questions that came up in the question box sermon at the end of March, one was, what is grace? And one was, essentially, how do I stay soft when the world is so hard? How do I deal with the anger and the hate I feel? And when I was thinking about the latter question, I kept thinking about the answer as being the first. And then how to weave that together? Because all of this stuff about grace is so wonderful and important. Of course, it's not just luck. Of course, there's something mysterious about grace. Whatever you believe in God or not, there is something there. It's not about something we do. Grace exists. And yet, we're also told to extend grace to others, right? We are told to be gentle and understanding for people whose stories we don't know, people who are going through a hard time. We don't know what people bring to the table. We don't know what they experience. We don't know about disabilities, neurodivergencies, what happened to them right before they came into the room. We don't know what they don't know. So we should show them grace. And if Ramakrishna is right and the winds of God's grace are always blowing and it's for us to raise our sails, what if it's exhausting? What if we don't want to? What if everything we're getting back is so hard? What if our hearts are not in a holy place? What if we can't stay soft? What if the world is just too hard? And worse, what if the world expects us to be the ones to always be soft, always extend grace, because we always preach peace, love, and understanding? It's a lot to carry. As I was thinking about this, I remembered in February of 2017, the New York Times came out with an article with the headline, "Liberals Need to Be Nicer to Conservatives." And I saw flames, flames from the side of my face, flames. And I talked to a friend who at the time worked for UU World. And I was seeing red. I was like, and I ranted and I raved. And out of that, my friend said, talk about this, write about this. And I said, it's not about being nice, it's about being kind. And maybe some of you read that article about kindness over niceness, because what they were doing wasn't kind. And it was okay for us. And I'm going to quote myself. The calls to niceness really got under my skin. And here's what I wrote at the time. I said, I'm not calling on us to be bullies, far from it. As former First Lady Michelle Obama famously said, when they go low, we go high. And we still must do that because right now, because of all the Unitarian Universalists know about humanity and potential and how the world works, we do indeed occupy the moral high ground, and not because being bullies, and not being bullies is part and parcel of that occupation. But occupying the moral high ground and building the beloved community are not the same as being liked. And our generally conciliatory manner, born from centuries of Protestant decorum, will win us neither friends nor justice. We need to shed that veneer of respectability in favor of our faith's true call to be kind. And I went on to talk about what kindness is. Kindness is building a ramp. Kindness is protest. Kindness is fighting for trans rights, human rights, reproductive rights, et cetera, et cetera. And now I share this with you because, yes, it's still true, and it's gotten even harder. Going high hasn't worked, and the bullies have come back harder. We did our best to show grace. We did our best work for justice and hold the moral high ground, and by God, we still do. And they still are calling for us to be nice, to acquiesce, to be soft. But I know there are a lot of days when my heart is not in a holy place, and I'm not showing a lot of grace. The anger is real. It's hard to watch our values being compromised. It's hard to watch people being harmed. It's hard to watch families being torn apart. It's hard to watch carelessness and greed and hate. It's hard to read the news. How can we show grace when we're met with hate? How is it easy to raise our sails and catch grace when there are people with scissors cutting those ropes? And especially when we live in this area with a lot of federal workers, with a lot of immigrants. This got me thinking about the comedy duo Key and Peele. And they did this wonderful thing, this wonderful ongoing sketch with Luther, Obama's anger interpreter. You all remember. Because Obama played it cool, right? President Obama played it cool, and he was very measured and reasoned. And so Jordan Peele played the very measured, firm, intelligent, calm Obama. And, and Keegan-Michael Key was bringing the anger and calling people back and naming what was right because the anger mattered, right? Because sometimes you got to say what's real. And that was, God, 20 years ago now. Not 20 years ago, 10 years, 10, 12, I don't know. I can't do math in my head right now. 15 years ago, oh my God, all right, 15 years, thank you, y'all. How do we show grace? I'm back to this first question. How do we show grace? How do we stay soft when there's so much hate, when the world is so hard? And what do we do when we come into these spaces? So I've had conversations with a number of you, and some of you want to shut the world out when you come into these walls. And I get it. Absolutely. This is the one place that is a haven. May nothing evil cross this door. You come for nourishment, for peace, for solace, a place to escape from the world, a place to feel soft and feel the grace of community. And my God, we need that. And some of you don't think we're doing enough, that we're not talking enough about the hardship of the world. Some of you want fiery sermons, calling us to action, acknowledging the reality of what's out there and calling us to action. And we need that, and our faith tells us that. And it's a hard balance here in this pulpit to bring both, to offer comfort and solace and speak prophetic witness. I try and strike a balance, and sometimes I miss the mark. I hope that what you hear from me is as much my own wrestling as we have to learn how to stay soft in a world that wants to make us hard, that we need to find our own joy and be graceful to ourselves and soft for ourselves and gird our own spiritual loins, as it were, so that we can handle what's out there in the world. And yes, sometimes that means we talk about joy and we talk about spiritual deepening, and God, I can't even think of what we've preached lately. But also we talk about the problems and how we face them and how we meet the moment. Ultimately, what I know is I can't stay quiet, and I don't want you to stay quiet. I'm wrestling with my sense of right and wrong, with the call of love that the call of that love puts on my heart every day. As a minister, as your minister, I can only do what this faith calls me to do. And then it's speak truth and love to hold you, to guide you, to encourage you to live your values in your personal lives, in this congregation, in this community, and in the world. So some days it is true, I feel a lot less grace and softness and anger for what is happening outside our walls. There are days I got nothing but swears. So a few months ago, God, maybe it was January or February, I guest preached at our congregation in Chester River. And I mentioned, had that litany of all the things that were wrong. I was like, I don't even know what to say about it. I got nothing but swears. And afterwards, a couple of women came up to me and they said, very quietly, we get together once a week for a sweary tea. They said, we go off, we go to my house because it's sort of in the middle of nowhere, and we have tea and cookies or whatever, and we swear at the top of our lungs and get it out. And I thought, right, sometimes we need that safe space to be outwardly angry, to release those emotions. That's why there are rage rooms. I've also known people to have a space where they've collected like cheap pottery from flea markets and garage sales and then throw them against the wall to get that rage out, to get that anger out. It's healthy to be angry. It's normal. It's why anger was one of the four main emotions in the movie Inside Out. And we have to deal with it in healthy ways. Suppressing it doesn't do anybody any good. See domestic abuse statistics. Anytime we're angry, it's hard to show grace. And when we swallow our anger, when we say, oh, no, 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 I have to be nice, I have to acquiesce, it comes up in bad other ways. And we know that. And that's why therapists are a good thing. Our faith does call us to recognize grace and to understand that everybody's got their own story and everybody's going through their own thing, but it also calls us to know where our boundaries are, what we will tolerate and accept. We talk a lot about covenant, and covenant isn't just, oh, we'll accept everybody. It's saying, these are our boundaries. And when somebody falls out of covenant, how do we come back together in right relationship? How do we say, this is outside of the ways we want to be together? And I'm going to say there's probably about a third of the country is out of covenant with the other 2/3 of us. It's okay to be angry and not always be soft. It's okay. And it doesn't make you a bad person. And it certainly doesn't make you a bad universalist. I'll remind you of my favorite universalist story. Hosea Ballou tells the story of the child who falls in the mud. And you clean up the child. And he asks, do you clean the child because you love them, or do you love them after they've been cleaned up? The God of universalism cleans that child because they love them. And will let them stay dirty if they want. Doesn't matter. And it's okay. Just because you can't raise your sales right now doesn't mean grace isn't there for you when you're ready to. Grace is always there. It is absolutely on demand. It's like electricity, as long as you pay your bill. All you control is what you can control. That's the next thing. I mean, we can't change the person we're angry at, right? Has anybody ever seen the Sandra Bullock movie, 28 Days? Yeah. So there's this great scene. The broad setup is she's a drug addict and an alcoholic. She goes to a rehab center for 28 days. And among the people who are there are Viggo Mortensen, who plays a Major League Baseball player, a pitcher. And he is out in the woods practicing his pitching. He's just gotten a big box of balls from his manager. And he's throwing, and she comes up and he invites her to throw. Oh, no, I don't know how to play. He's like, yeah, try one. And of course, she throws half-heartedly, and it goes wildly into the crowds. And he says, okay, now get your stance right. Here's how you stand. Here's how you hold your arm. And throw, and it's a little bit better. He says, now close your eyes. It's like, what are you, stupid? Close your eyes. Now control your stance. Now throw the ball. And she throws, and it goes right where it needs to go. And he says, you can control your stance, your arms, the throw, but once it leaves your hand, that's somebody else's job. You can only control what you can control. And I've always remembered that. What you send out in the world, what you do is as much as you can do. How other people receive it, that's somebody else's problem or gift. So we do what we can do. Yeah. So what can we do? We can find avenues for our rage, as I said. Rage rooms, sweary teas, whatever helps you get out anger. Also, don't forget to check in with yourself. I like the HALT method. Am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Which means if I'm hungry, get something to eat. Am I angry? Okay, deal with that. Am I lonely? Call somebody. Am I tired? Go take a nap. That often helps. Find some joy. Could be a little joy. Pet your pet. Eat something. Find a TV show you like. Talk to somebody. Do a little art. Sing a song. Something that brings you a little joy. Again, talk to somebody. Maybe talk to a therapist or a mentor. Get involved with something. Do something to help somebody else. Turn to a community. This one right here. This community. Remind yourself of your center. What centers you? And one more thing. Pray. I don't care how you understand praying. And I want to leave you with this particular prayer. It's a Buddhist metta that was taught to me by the Reverend Meg Barnhouse. And she taught us this in 2017 or 2018. The words are simple, and I'm going to have you do a call and response. So I'm going to teach it to you, and then we're going to do it 3 times. So it's, you may be the one last spark, we all need to light the whole world, to light the whole world. Now sing it to yourself. You may be the one last spark, we all need to light the whole world. Now imagine somebody in this community that you want to remind is important, okay? You may be the one last spark, we all need to light the whole world. Now, Think about somebody you are angry about, someone your rage fills, and think about what these words mean when you say this to them. You may be the one last spark we all need to light the whole world. Do you hear it? Do you hear it? Sometimes we need motivation. Sometimes we need the thing that kicks us off to meet the moment.